that you can see just south of us. You could smell the smoke. You could feel it. It smelled like something like a, sort of being in the center of the last burning embers of a bonfire. It felt very much like that. And now this I guess it's afternoon now, it feels a little bit more clear. But again, Leon, if you've been here for the last couple days, the air quality changes from hour to hour, from minute to minute.
Incredible. Michael Oku, thank you very much, giving us those scenes that look like they're straight from a Mad Max movie. Scenes created perhaps by a madman. Michael Oku in New York, thank you very much. All right, our coverage, our extended coverage right now, America Attacks, begins right now.
This is CNN.
And welcome back. This is CNN's continuing coverage of America Under Attack. I'm Darren Kagan.
And I am Leon Harris. Now, we want to start off this hour by bringing you up to speed on some of the latest developments in this fast-moving story. Federal authorities are casting now a wide net in their search for suspects. People both here and abroad are being brought in for questioning. At ground zero for the attacks, the search for survivors continues, but hope for finding anyone alive is fading and fast. And on another front, U.S. airspace reopened last hour to commercial and private flights, but only airports that meet these new tighter security guidelines are going to be allowed to reopen. New York's 3 airports are among those that have reopened on a limited basis, but just because planes are allowed to get back in the air, that does not mean that all airlines will be fully back in business right away. In Boston, Logan International Airport remains closed today. And one official says that that airport will not reopen until it has met all of the enhanced security requirements required by the FAA. Now, you may recall 2 of the planes that were hijacked flew out of Logan Airport.
The investigation into the attacks is unfolding on several fronts, including flight schools in Florida. Investigators are also looking at the records of students' trains at the flight schools. We'll have more on that story in a minute. Right now, we want to go to Capitol Hill. Richard Gephardt speaking. Let's listen in.
Showing the way and expecting that we would do that, and we are doing that, and we are responding. The resolution yesterday was the first response of the Congress. I thought the debate was moving and well done. Today we are working on dealing with other challenges, and we will continue to do that. Let me say one other thing, and then you can go to questions. In all my time in public service and in my whole life, I have not been part of such a severe challenge to this country. Terrorism is an action against humanity. It's an action against civilization. It's an action against everything this country stands for and is about. In dealing with this, we will not give up our freedom. We're going to have to change the balance between freedom and security, but we will not give up our freedom. We will not be defeated as to the basic values and ideas that underlie this country. And we will do that by standing together and having no air and no light between the President and the Congress and between the parties and the different viewpoints of this country.
You made several times today the point that you are standing shoulder to shoulder with the Republicans. You still, however, have substantial differences on the appropriations bill, the breadth of authority the President will have to decide how to spend the money that will be appropriated, and also the breadth of authority the President will have on deciding who to and how to respond to this attack. How do you resolve those differences?
By what we're doing.
Isn't there light and air between you and those issues?
No, we're working to resolve them in a collegial, collaborative way. I just left a meeting with the leadership in the House and Senate, the appropriators in the House and Senate, and we talked about resolving what, frankly, are important but not substantial differences that still may exist. I am confident that in the next hours we can work out those differences. The same thing is going on with regard to the authority that the President apparently wants to deal with this problem. And what you're seeing is real collaboration. What you're seeing is real working together. What you're seeing is real unity. And I said a number of times in the meeting, the people of our country are exhibiting incredible patriotism, heroism, bravery, and courage. They are working together to meet this challenge, just as we have at many times in our long history. And that's what we're doing inside this building and will do in the next hours and days to meet this challenge.
Does the President need authority from Congress, Mr. Gephardt?
Get it out today.
We're hoping to be able to have the Congress, at least the House, if not the House and the Senate, be able to act today on a supplemental appropriation.
Mr. Gephardt, should there be a declaration of war?
My own thought is that the President has powers in present law to deal with what's in front of us. If the President wants and seeks additional authority or a restatement of present authority that's appropriate, we are quite willing to do that. We want to give him the tools that he needs and his administration needs to deal with this problem. We are behind that and we are for that. And we will work today and tomorrow, and if it takes Saturday and Sunday, we'll stay here and do what needs to be done to try to get these things done in a sensible, appropriate way.
But if he wants to launch an attack against somebody today, you believe he has the authority to do that under?
The President, under our Constitution, has the power to defend people in the United States, and I think he has the power to do something to retaliate against terrorism. We're in a new world. A lot of the concepts that we have dealt with in the past have been with the normal situation where one country attacks another or attacks the United States. When Pearl Harbor happened, the President asked for and got an authorization to use force against the country of Japan, and he was pledged by the Congress all of the resources that he needed in order to succeed in that effort. And then after that, we had a number of appropriation bills that gave him the resources that he needed. I've said before, this calamity caused what I think will be the greatest loss of life on American soil by an outside force in the history of the country. When it's finished, I'm fearful that the 24 or 2,500 lives that were lost at Pearl Harbor will be exceeded substantially. This was an enormous catastrophe. This was an enormous attack against the people of the United States, and I would say all the people of the world who love and honor civilization and humanity. And we must act in concert and together to give the President what the President needs and requires in order to get this done. We don't want to contravene our Constitution. We don't want to blur the various powers of our government. We don't want to, change the Constitution, and we don't have to do that. But what we have to do is work together internally in the Congress, with the Senate and the House, Democrats and Republicans, and then with the President to get the right things in law and the right things done so we can meet this challenge.
Will this be a declaration of war against the terrorists? Will Congress do a declaration of war against the terrorists?
It will be a piece of legislation which authorizes legally the president to take appropriate actions against the perpetrators of this giant atrocity.
Mr. Gephardt, the Ways and Means Committee chairman today unveiled legislation, an emergency stimulus package that would permanently cut the capital gains tax. Does that also have bipartisan support, and did he have any consultation with Democrats on that?
No, my understanding was they were working on legislation in Ways and Means that would take away the taxation of victims of let me try to finish. That would take away the taxation on victims of this atrocity. Now, if there are other matters that apply to all of our citizens that have broader ramifications, we'll obviously have to take a look at that. I was not aware of that. I'll look at it at the time that we should.
Once military response comes, it's going to be massive. It's going to cross international lines. Are you willing to support the president in any action he takes?
I support the president in his statement of the other day that unlike perhaps past policies, that we would try to find and bring to justice the perpetrators of this crime, but we would also take action against countries that harbor the perpetrators of this terrorism. I think that is an appropriate action to take. How that will be done, whether it will be done, is a question that has to yet be answered by what we find. But we have to be effective in facing down and dealing with this terrorism. Look, we've been faced with this for a number of years. This is not new. We've been talking about this problem for some time. This apparently was the work of a network of terrorists that may exist in a number of countries. We don't know the answers to all that. But what I do know is that unlike perhaps past times, we have to be effective in finally doing this in. What happened the other day, can never, ever happen again in this country. And in my view, in any country.
Should those funds for Star Wars
We've been listening to House Minority Leader Dick Gephardt as he addresses reporters talking about actions that he knows the House plans to take today, including voting and passing, he believes, a supplemental appropriation bill that would allow the president to have a large amount of money to go after the people that are believed to have carried out these acts. Also, an act authorizing the president to take appropriate actions against, as Mr. Gephardt said, the perpetrators of this attack. Let's bring in our congressional correspondent, Kate Snow, who can help us understand what exactly Congress is trying to do here. First of all, Kate, when Congressman Gephardt was talking about passing this authorization to take appropriate action, he stopped short of saying that this would be a declaration of war.
That's right. They're being very careful about the language. In fact, we understand there are meetings ongoing between the White House and congressional aides working on the language. We don't think that that particular resolution authorizing the use of military force, which is the way they're putting it, we don't think that will likely come up today, Darren. We think that it's probably going to be tomorrow, maybe even beyond tomorrow, before they work out all the language. This is a relatively new thing. The other resolution that you mentioned, the one that deals with money, now that one, they've just come out of a meeting. You heard him mention he was in a meeting with the other congressional leaders, that's the Speaker of the House and the Senate leaders, Republicans and Democrats, talking about this money. There is general consensus, Darren, that they want to send the president as much money as he thinks he needs. That they're talking about some $20 billion right now. That's what's been suggested by appropriators. I'm told that in that meeting, though, there was a lot of discussion about whether it's even appropriate to put a price tag on this right now. There's a lot of discussion about whether that's the right amount of money. There were some members from New York who were in the room who I'm told said, we need specific money for New York, and we also need the ability to consult with the president about how to spend this money. So there is a little bit of talking going on, but they do want to get this done ultimately today. Darren.
Which brings up an interesting point, Kate. When the Congressman Gephardt first came out, he was very clear to talk about the unity, saying that there's no air, there's no light between this Congress and between the president. And yet, as reporters were asking, and you're kind of alluding to as well, Washington's a partisan town, and everyone's
Well,
going to have an opinion as to how this money should be spent and what action should be taken.
That's right. It is. And when he was asked about an economic stimulus package, which has been mentioned by Republicans as a way to send a signal to Wall Street, which means tax cuts, you start to get into the politics. But Darren, I think